This is the Marvel Legends series X-Men Captain Cyclops. I picked up this figure from my local Toy Kingdom store. This is the Marvel Legends series X-Men Jean Grey or Marvel Girl. I picked up this figure from my local Toy Kingdom store. This is the Marvel Legends series X-Men, the Omega Sentinel, Karima Shapindar. I picked up this figure from my local Toy Kingdom store. This is the Marvel Legends series X-Men Dr. Moira MacTaggert. I picked up this figure from my local Toy Kingdom store. Starting things off, we have Scott Summers as Captain Cyclops. He's one of the captains on the field on this new Krakoan nation of mutants. This figure is as basic as it gets. You can't blame Hasbro for doing this because Cyclops does indeed have the basic male body mold for the Marvel Legends figures. And despite being a basic figure, the addition of these really amazing gauntlets and this pouch belt, I don't know, this figure works. It made me want to buy this figure. The paint apps look nice. I mean, there's hardly any quality issues on the paint apps. You might want to check the silver on his visor. That's probably the only area where I found some inconsistencies with the paint apps, but it's not that bad. It's hardly noticeable. The head sculpts are basically, if I'm not mistaken, redos of the retro Cyclops. It's a shame I don't have that figure anymore because it'd be nice to compare it. I think the mold is slightly different. This one with the blast is definitely the same. So let me know in the comment section if I got it right, because I don't have the figure anymore. This one, I do remember this blast effect. It's really from that retro figure. And despite being a repaint, this figure actually works. I'm pretty biased, I suppose, because Cyclops is one of my favorite X-Men. Despite being a repurposed figure, I think the figure works. He looks great. I love the blue on him, the two-tone blue, silver pouches and all that. The only concern I have, apart from the inconsistent silver paint apps, is that the figure mold has gone through some degradation, particularly the thigh joints, at least on my copy, so that when I'm trying to get him in such dynamic poses, like when he's doing like a nice straddle stance, it's hard for him to stand up because the thigh joints are just not supporting the weight of the figure. And it's a shame because this figure is a lot of fun to pose. The best way you could get rid of that loose thigh swivel is just you need to plant the figure firmly and have the weight riding on the shins of the figure instead of on the thighs. So that could work. So overall, I'm just generally pleased with the way this repaint turned out. And as I always say on my Transformers reviews, a repaint is only great if the new colors really work. I mean, if Hasbro can nail the new colors, then the repaint will absolutely work. For some size comparisons, here he is with the Jim Lee Cyclops. You can see the mold is basically the same. They just modded the gauntlet, added the new belt, new head sculpt, but it works. I love this figure. Next, we have Jean Grey or Marvel Girl. She comes with a couple of accessories, a couple of closed fists, apart from her telekinetic and telepathic open hands, as well as a Krakoan flower. If you did not read up on the comic books, all the mutants have already banded together on an island nation on Krakoa. Apparently, Krakoa is a mutant, and the island produces various flowers that they use to leverage on the human population as medicine, as new age medicine to help and cure all the ailments of humans. But they have one particular flower. This is a gate flower. If you plant it anywhere in the world, it will grow and turn into a gate, and that gate will allow mutants to teleport from that point to Krakoa. So it's sort of like a Stargate, kind of like an organic Yeah, it's like an organic living teleportation gate. And this is the seed, and you just plant it. You can plant it on a ship. You can plant it on land. Anywhere, maybe in the galaxy, and it will form it sort of bends space and time to bring mutants back and forth through that location, and only mutants can pass through the gate. And this is the new, well, this is how Jean looks now. She's taken on her old costume. Well, it's actually a homage to her old costume, done in a kind of a modern look. She still has those dishwashing gloves, and I don't know. On paper, this figure should work. I love the head sculpt. Let's get that right. Okay, the head sculpt is absolutely amazing. You just need to find one that's been glued on properly, that the hair is glued on exactly where it should be, as well as the mask, because these are separate pieces, so that Hasbro does not need to, you know, muck up the paint. But and make sure that the lipstick is aligned properly and that the eyes are looking kind of straight. On my copy of the figure, she's kind of looking in this direction, but the head sculpt turned out great. It's the body which I felt needed some work. Basic body mold. The shoulders, biceps are recycled. I'm pretty sure the gloves are recycled. I don't know, Shadow Cat, Kitty Pryde. The legs may be recycled. Somebody tell me where they're from. Are these the clogs of Storm? I honestly can't remember. But the clogs, the feet, are supposed to look like boots. In my opinion, they should have just molded this part instead of painting it, because it kind of looks like she is wearing some clogs, some really thick slip-on sandals, that it just ruins the silhouette. On paper, I believe it should work, but when they execute it, it just doesn't seem... I don't know, there's just something off with the silhouette and the aesthetic of the sculpt. I believe they painted the flesh on the lower leg and molded the plastic flesh on the upper thighs, and if you look at it from afar, you kind of won't notice it, but up close you will notice the discrepancy of the flesh tones. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer. I wish they could have just molded the lower leg in flesh, everything in flesh, even the knee, and then just painted it yellow, or just molded this cut of the boot. Like, even if it's a removable piece made of soft PVC material, they could have just slipped that on. I would have appreciated that. Something like this. This one is actually molded on, but if they had a separate piece, I would have been okay with it. But it just bugs me. The other thing that bugs me is that her skirt is just way too tight. Not for the reasons you're thinking of, but it's so hard to pose the figure with a very tight skirt. I don't understand why they couldn't have used a thinner material. You know, Hasbro is all about cost cutting. They could have cut costs on this fabric or on this soft PVC material and made it thinner. Or they could have added another slit right here, or just increase the height of the slit, which you probably can do if you want to. But it just sucks that it's so hard to pose Jean Grey, and she is always in a dynamic pose. Every time I see her in the comic book, like she's like flying and all that, and it's just so difficult to do so. If you're looking what's underneath, they just molded her pelvis in green, so her underwear is matching colors with her outfit. Other than that, the figure should be good. It's just a bummer that Hasbro kind of dropped the ball on that. Not complaining, not whining about figure. It's just that I was expecting a lot from this figure. I honestly thought this would be the best figure in the wave, but I don't know. Just a little bit disappointed with that you can't really get her in dynamic poses. But if you're okay with her vanilla pose, standing and flying poses, it should be fine. The one thing that I think is new to me is this ball jointed waist joint right here, and I'm glad they kind of did that. I mean, I was looking for an ab crunch and a waist swivel, but this actually is great because it doesn't break the sculpt or the silhouette of the torso, so that's pretty cool. And for some size comparisons, here is Jean Grey with some of my other Jean Grey figures, the Jim Lee Jean Grey and the Hellfire Club Black Queen Jean Grey. It's amazing how I can actually stand that Black Queen figure, and you can clearly see how tiny the figure is. What happened to Jean? Did she shrink? I mean, she's not wearing any heels. I know she is, but there's really something wrong with this Hasbro. I have no idea what happened, but she should be much taller. I'm actually noticing it just now. And that's probably one of the reasons why I feel the figure is also a little bit off. She's just a little too short compared to the Jean Grey figures we've gotten in the past. Next up is Karima Shapindar, the Omega Sentinel, which is probably one of the more deadlier Sentinels out there. It's a shame. I believe she was a mutant, and she was a technokinetic or technopath. Something like that. She could communicate with technology, with machines or device, something like that. And then something along the way, I don't know, I didn't read up on her, but she became the Omega Sentinel, and I thought this figure came out great. The only thing wrong with it is, well, white paint apps. That's always going to be the Waterloo for Hasbro. They haven't solved it quite properly, and look at that. Bunch of inconsistencies, not too poignant. I've seen worse on other figures on the pegs, but you get to see bits and pieces here and there of splotches and all that because of the white paint apps. It's a shame because the figure looks great. I'm not particularly sure if they've recycled pieces here and there. I'm sure they have, but it just looks like a completely new mold to me. And look at this fantastic head sculpt. Oh my goodness. This is my favorite one, actually, between the two. She's got a second head sculpt, the one with the hair and the mask. This is pretty cool. And she's got these blaster for arms, like you can obviously replace them with their standard issue arms, which are actually pretty cool. These are like Terminator arms. And for some reason, I am just loving the sculpt. It looks pretty basic, but I don't know, I like it. Particularly this one. This is like the relaxed hand. It's not a gripping hand. It's just like a relaxed hand just hanging down from her side. I love it. For some reason, this is my favorite hand for this figure. I don't know why. It just feels, yeah, it's like a Terminator hand, or I don't know. Look at that. Could have used more details instead of just red paint apps, but you know, it's fine. They molded it in this glossy gunmetal gray type of plastic. Lots of nice details on the body sculpt. Yeah, more splotches here and there, but yeah, overall, I am just really, really happy with this figure. Articulation is pretty tight on her, and if I'm not mistaken, at least on my copy, the ankle joints feel like they're ratcheting. Oh my goodness. So yeah, probably my second favorite out of all these four figures. The figure is actually pretty big. I mean, you can see her together with Rogue, and yeah, head to toe, they're almost the same size. And then finally, we have Dr. Moira MacTaggert. If you didn't read up on the comic books, you're probably wondering what she's doing in a wave full of mutants. And the truth is, she is actually a mutant. I think it was just a very recent revelation. I've never actually believed she was a mutant. I knew she was an X-Flame of Professor Charles Xavier, and she was really a supporter of mutants. She was studying them, and when they wrote House of X and Powers of X, they wrote her in as the mutant that was responsible for forming the island nation of Krakoa. At least the impetus to do so, to push Charles and Eric to forming the mutant nation. And her power, spoiler alert, is reincarnation, but with full memories of her previous lives. Think Edge of Tomorrow, like the Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt movie, where the day gets reset. It's like Groundhog Day, where you retain the memories of the previous day. But in her case, she retains all her memories of her previous lifetime, which is very significant because she can correct the mistakes of her previous lives. And if they do encounter a threat that threatens the existence of the mutant nation, she could just go ahead and kill herself and reincarnate again with full memories and find a way to avert that disaster. I thought that was a pretty ingenious way of writing her in. She has always been a supporting character in the X-Men universe and X-Men world. And I'm glad she's now a very significant character in the story. She's always got to be protected, because if she dies, then there's no way of restarting it. But, or if she dies, she needs to redo everything again in the new timeline. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And this figure actually turned out great. Very surprised, and this figure is actually my favorite. This is her Dr. Scientist mode. She's got this book on the Atom, X-Men, the Children of the Atom. And yet she has clenched fists ready to do some battle, even in her lab gown and all that. I think what they were trying to do with Jean Grey, they were very successful with this figure. The fabric on her skirt is made of the softer PVC material. There's a higher slit. It allows for better articulation on the legs, which I think is, you know, she doesn't need to be in fighting stances, but it's pretty cool. Her underwear matches the same color as her outfit. They've actually molded the entire legs in flesh plastic, and except for the shoes. The shoes are in maroon plastic and they painted a little bit of flesh, but somehow the aesthetic on her legs works a lot better than what they did with Jean Grey. I don't understand why they couldn't have molded her skirt, Jean Grey's skirt, with the same fabric as what they did with Moira. That's just crazy. They could have been a superb figure, but they missed out on that. And what I do like about this figure, it's like she's got two outfits. You can remove the scientist head and put her civvies or civilian clothes, plain street clothes attire head sculpt with that nice hat. You can pop out the arms and get rid of the lab coat, and then pop in some new arms with the Jean Grey hands and a clenching hand, which will probably hold the book better than the these punching fists. So yeah, oh, I forgot, she's got a scarf. Hold on. Yep, kind of a French little petite outfit. I thought this was very nice, very true to the comic books. I'm sure they've recycled bits and pieces here and there, but to me, it looks like a brand new mold. I don't know. I'm sure the hands are obviously recycled, the legs, just some recycled bits and pieces, but yeah. My favorite combination for this figure is this one. You put the scientist head on, and then you got the scarf. And then instead of the clenching hand, you swap it out with the punching hand like that, and you keep the open hand, and there you go. You've got Velma as an X-Man, or an X-Man character. I just love how this figure turned out, and this Velma look is just doing it for me. I love what they did with this character, and perhaps this is my favorite figure out of all these four figures I'm reviewing, and she's gonna get a perfect score, 10 out of 10. And so some final thoughts on these four amazing Marvel Legends figures. If you are a big X-Men fan, you love the X-Men Marvel Legends figures, these four are what I believe should be the first figures you need to pick up in this entire wave. You can pick up the entire wave all in one go, but if you are on a budget and you can pick the figures one at a time, these are the four figures you need to get first. I'm pretty sure Magneto, Charles Xavier, and Wolverine are going to be peg warmers for a while. The Build-A-Figure, it's okay. I've seen it built in a hobby shop. It's going for about $50, $60. I'd say wait for somebody to sell it for $20, $25. I'm pretty sure it's going to go down to that price in a few months. In terms of highest to lowest, I'd probably rank Moira MacTaggert as the best figure. This was a sleeper figure. I did not expect this figure to be really nice. I wanted to get this figure. She was on my hit list, especially because I read up in the comic books. But I did not expect the figure to be really this nice. Next up would be Karima Shapendar, the Omega Sentinel. Boy, this figure is amazing. Hasbro really pulled out the stops on this figure. Probably the only thing they could have improved on this figure is better paint apps. And then third has got to be Cyclops. Despite coming from a very basic mold, you can't blame Hasbro because that really is the Cyclops mold. Adding those bits and details, the belt, the gauntlets, really transformed this figure. And, you know, it really works. It made me want to buy the figure. And last in my rankings, which is not to say she's a bad figure, is the Marvel Girl Jean Grey figure. She's sporting her old retro costume done in a more modern take. I get that. If you're a big fan of the character, you'll totally agree that this is a nice homage and tribute to that old Jean Grey character. It's just that the figure, I think, looked great on paper, but when they executed it, it had a lot of flaws that it's just very hard not to notice. What is great about it, though, is the fantastic head sculpt, and I love the colors of the figure. And like I said, it's still a great figure. It's just not the greatest among all of these four. So everybody in general, I think if I was to grade them, I'd like to give the group a 9 out of 10, with Moira getting the 10, Cyclops and Karima getting maybe 8.5 and 9, and then Jean getting just an 8. Okay, so yeah, it's around 9, 8.5, 9 on average. Let me know in the comment section what you think of these four figures. Do you agree with my choice that these are the 4 best figures in the wave? Hit me up in the comments, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.